The heater died. Not last night, but a few nights ago, January 31st, 3:30 a.m. I was up in bed and I noticed it was quiet downstairs. I looked and sure enough, the heater was off. The LED on the Webasto rheostat was flashing with a fault code of 2, which means that the flame went out during operation. It's now Sunday morning, February 2nd, and the heater still isn't working. Occasionally it throws a fault code of 1, which means no flame at all. I replaced the fuel filter. I even inspected the old fuel filter, and it's crystal clear, not clogged at all, so that didn't make any difference. The fuel situation looks good. It has power, the pump is working, the fan is working. We configured the unit for high altitude use full time, which is supposed to minimize carbon buildup, so it shouldn't have any trouble with me being at over 5,000 feet. It works steadily for around 2.5 weeks, and I estimate that I got around 250 hours out of it before it shut down. How do I feel about it? I'm extremely frustrated. It was a costly, invasive modification that was supposed to improve my quality of living. OK Four-Wheel Drive did a great job. It's a very clean installation, but it's proving to be a very temperamental unit. In fact, if you Google the AirTop 2000 on the web, you find a lot of blog posts and cases where the unit stops functioning due to carbon buildup, and that carbon buildup can happen very readily. But right now, carbon buildup is pure speculation, and we're not going to know until it gets some service. And that's the problem. My shop is in New Jersey, I'm in New Mexico, I'm out on the road. I have absolutely zero interest in beating my head against this problem, so here's what's going to happen. I've already been in touch with OK Four-Wheel Drive, and they're doing research on their end. So I'm going to stay in contact with them. I'm going to keep an eye open for shops and specialists that might be able to lend assistance. And otherwise, I'm just going to keep going about my business. You don't need to be warm to have an adventure. Although it sure is nice. I'm heading to the desert anyway. Right, let's get to it then, shall we? I am camped at Joe Skeen Campground, which is on BLM land in western New Mexico. It is adjacent to El Malpai National Monument. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I'm not even sure. This is a beautiful campground. There's a half a dozen people here, even in early February. But I am going to break camp and check out some nearby attractions. Beautiful day at an awesome campground. I would not mind spending another night there. There's a problem though. I checked the weather and it looks like some strong winds are heading this way, and after the strong winds, some unpleasant cold temperatures. Wind is my arch nemesis in this camper. When I'm sleeping up there and on a windy night, the walls of the tent flap and flutter and keep me awake all night. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight yet. But right now, it's sunny and almost 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Well, crap. There are supposedly lava tubes 2.5 miles further down the road behind me in El Malpai. But beyond this point, the road is extremely muddy due to the snow melt and the mild temperatures, and it doesn't look like it was recently traveled either. Just because I have the recovery equipment, the winch, the max tracks, doesn't mean that I should take risks and invite catastrophe. So my gut is telling me to turn around, which is disappointing. I just drove an hour to see here and I'm only 2.5 miles away. Even though the lava tubes are only 2.5 miles away, I think it's still a hike to experience the tubes. So I've ruled out the possibility of parking the Jeep here and hiking in. I will keep this place in mind for a future visit. Tonight's wind situation could be potentially problematic. Let's see. It's supposed to pick up through the night and at around 4 a.m. get into the 20-mile-per-hour range. So I'm going to head into BLM land and see if I can find a flat spot to pop the camper with a natural barrier to the southwest. That should solve all problems. But failing that, I'll go back to the campground that I spent last night at, which was great. It was just a little bit exposed. So, we'll see. I'm finding a lot of really cool terrain, but it's not looking too good for a southwest wind barrier. Are you kidding me, man? Come on. I'm back at where I camped last night, and the air's perfectly still right now. It's very comfortable. I think tomorrow I might just drive, especially if it's windy. Kinda inch my way to a warmer climate. Temperature's decent here, but it gets really cold at night, around 20 degrees. And there's that cold front that's coming. It's Monday morning, February 3rd, and I slept pretty well last night. The wind wasn't all that bad at the campgrounds, and the temperatures were fairly decent. I'm pressing onward. I'm heading south. I've got a couple destinations in mind that I'm on the fence about, so we'll just have to see where I end up. There's a wilderness boundary here, so it looks like I'm at the end of the road. A 6-mile crawl through Sand Canyon, which was mostly a scenic valley with some history along the way. Although I did note that there were some nice primitive places to camp along the road, down in the valley. Probably very peaceful and private. I marked those spots on the GPS. I'm out exploring forest roads in Gila National Forest in western New Mexico. At least I think it's Gila. It's either Gila or Apache. I was in both and I didn't see where the transition was. Gila is vast and it's very, very wild. For that reason, it's one of my favorite national forests. And there are tons of roads and trails to explore. If you search online for the motor vehicle use map in Gila National Forest, you'll see that there's just this incredible network of roads that go in every direction. Too windy for a fire, but I'm hoping that the wind will just abruptly stop. And here I was worried about last night being too windy. I didn't get the chance to put that firewood to use. Well, that's okay. I'll leave it for the next person. Tuesday morning, February 4th, and a little bit of unexpected snow. Well, sort of unexpected. I knew there was a cold front coming. I am just glad that I stayed at a campground that is near pavement instead of somewhere in the mountains, because the mountains tend to get a little bit slippery with this white stuff. How are you? It's nice to meet you both. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. I'm Chris. I'm from the internet. It's nice to meet you. I'm exploring the Scenic catwalk trail in Gila National Forest. It's an easy trail that follows the floor of a canyon from what I can tell, and it looks to be a popular destination probably during peak season. But on a Tuesday in early February, not so much. I have the whole place to myself. This has been awesome, hasn't it? Short hike, low impact, very beautiful. The trail deteriorates and becomes impassable after about 1.5 miles up into the canyon. And there's still walls, railings, and stairways, but they're very visibly damaged by landslides and flooding. They might be repaired one day, but I imagine nature gets very violent in this canyon. Take another stab at that campfire tonight. After the catwalk hike, I did a little bit of driving, and I just crossed into Arizona, into Apache National Forest, and I found this free Forest Service campground just across the border from New Mexico. So it was an early afternoon, and I decided to settle in, get a fire going. The wind is calm, and I don't think there's any snow in the forecast. I think it's just going to get warmer after this. It's a little bit chilly right now. I've been hitting a lot of free established campgrounds this week, both BLM and Forest Service. First, they have vault toilets, so I don't have to dig a hole. And they have fire rings, picnic tables. I love a good primitive campsite next to a waterfall or on top of a mountain. But when I encounter a free established campground, I usually jump at the opportunity. It's Wednesday morning around 5 a.m. and it is 13 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Since I got the heater installed, I changed my sleeping bag configuration a little bit. I used to have a big brown double sleeping bag. I think it was rated to 20 degrees, and I'd put my 0-degree mummy bag inside of that. And when I slept in them together, I was comfortable. I was comfortable down to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, now I just have my 0-degree mummy bag and a fleece sleeping bag liner. And I found that with these two combined, I'm comfortable down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I start to get a little bit chilly. So it's still not bad. I'm still good for really cold weather, but not quite as cold as before. Alright, I'm in Globe, Arizona. I have coffee on my mind, and I need to download more base maps for Gaia GPS, take a look at email, just get a little bit of work done. While I'm waiting for the traffic to move, I can monitor my solar performance and my battery status using the Victron Connect smartphone app. And right now, it's a little bit overcast, and I'm pulling in, now getting up to 60. Also, I can go to history and just see the kind of solar performance I've had. I don't know how far it goes back. I think it goes back indefinitely. I'm still getting a feel for having a mobile solar solution. This is the Sunflare 105 watt flexible panel, and it's my first ever experience. I have nothing to compare it to, but so far it has been collecting sunlight and turning it to electricity. Oi! Fire pit's still warm. It could still be a little bit warmer out, but I'm 3,000 feet lower than I was last night, so it's progress. Now we are talking. I'm generally not very good at food, but every now and then. That was Queen Creek Olive Mill, southeast of Phoenix, Arizona. And a really nice place to get coffee, breakfast, adult beverage, and really cool shop. They also offer a tour of the facility. And I use the time to edit some photography and research where I'm going to spend the night and wrap up the week. I think I'm going to edit this video tomorrow in Apache Junction, Arizona, and I can spend the night in the surrounding mountains. There's some nearby BLM land. It's Thursday afternoon and time for the weekly wrap-up. Following some research this morning, I found this campsite south of the Superstition Mountains. Well, first of all, it's not really a campsite, it's just a flat spot, but I'm going purely for utility tonight. Aside from waking up on some extremely cold mornings, I did not give the heater that much thought this week, and that's exactly the way that I wanted it. Do I regret the Webasto gasoline heater? I'm not fond of the notion of regret in any aspect of life. We make choices, and they're hopefully for the better, but sometimes they're not, and then we gain experience and learn from those choices. Some of those lessons are harder than others, and this heater is the perfect example of that. But for right now, I'm going to keep being optimistic. The heater's installed. Once it's eventually fixed and dialed in, there's still a chance for it to be the game changer that was originally envisioned. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this week's experiences, and thank you very much for following along. I'll catch up with you again next Friday.